What's up, everybody? You might be wondering why I have my handy dandy flashlight with me today, and it is actually because I am heading down to the Pitchfork basement, so let me know if y'all want anything. There's no doubt that we've had a lot of great albums come out this year, and a lot of polarizing ones too. So I'm a little surprised that in a year that like everybody dropped new stuff, one of the most controversial rollouts of the year has been Halsey's new project, The Great Impersonator.
I know I've only felt religion when I'm not with you. Said you'll never be forgiven till your boys are too. And I'm still waking every morning, but it's not with you.
For those who are unfamiliar with Halsey, she's been an interesting figure in pop music for quite some time. I feel like a lot of people still very closely associate her with her 2015 album Badlands, which was like everywhere around that time. But since then, she's put out a bunch of other studio albums and she's had some hit singles and features. And for me personally, Halsey's discography has always been very hit or miss. I've liked a lot of their stuff. Some of their stuff I haven't been as big of a fan of. But I think since Badlands came out, Halsey has routinely been in the camp of like pop stars with a highly dedicated fan base who insist that they deserve the same flowers as other pop stars in a similar lane. And that energy has definitely been felt across the internet with the anticipated release of Halsey's 5th studio album, The Great Impersonator, which came out a couple days ago. So if you've never heard of this album, but you run in some kind of pop culture social media circle, chances are you've either seen the album's marketing rollout or a meme making fun of the album's marketing rollout. So leading up to the album, Halsey decided to do a series of hyper-realistic photo shoots that she's been posting on social media, depicting or impersonating, get it, artists who inspired the work. A lot of these recreations have been very impressive and skillfully done. And in my opinion, it's kind of just like a cute little rollout that makes sense in accordance with the theme of the album. And I didn't really see Halsey getting any backlash for it until she posted the photo of herself as Fiona Apple. And a lot of the criticism that I saw surrounding that post was people saying like, oh, this is fraud shit, Fiona Apple would never approve of this, Halsey could never be Fiona Apple, which like, I don't know, okay. Like, this whole campaign wasn't something that elicited a strong reaction out of me one way or the other, but then I saw an interaction that, like, made me defend wanting to be a hater a little bit because it's so emblematic of, like, how everybody gets so defensive over differing opinions as if it's, like, an actual personal attack and reflection on their values and them as a person. So basically this one Twitter user, Karl Marx, whose tweets I actually like and usually find pretty funny. I think we were mutuals at one point and then I got suspended for, like, the 17th time, oh well. Quote tweeted a Pop Crave post of the Fiona Apple impersonation and they said, what's the point of any of this? And then somebody else quote tweeted that and said, what happened to reading comprehension? And, you know, use the little Instagram draw marker to highlight The Great Impersonator, you know. It's so obvious, dummy, she's impersonating different artists. And then Karl Marx came back and said, oh, I understand the point, I just think it's stupid, hope this helps, and everybody lost their fucking minds over it. Because obviously the original tweet of like, what is the point of this, doesn't mean that this poster didn't understand that Halsey was doing these photo shoots because their album is called The Great Impersonator. Obviously that is understood. They just think it's a dumb way to promote an album, and I don't necessarily agree with that take, but I also don't think that's a wrong opinion to have. It's just an opinion. Why do we have to justify every single person's post about a piece of art by coding it in some kind of superficial dogma or implying that they're too dumb to understand the source material? Sometimes people just don't like things, and that's fine. I fear that we have tortured poeted way too close to the sun at this point. So that was the whole Instagram Great Impersonator rollout fiasco, but for now I want to stick with the general theme of opinions and criticism and art and subjectivity, because now that the album is actually out, that's becoming a bigger conversation. So a little background on the concept of The Great Impersonator as an album. Apparently, Halsey wrote this amid their battle with chronic illness. They wrote it with the framework of like it potentially being the last piece of art or music that they put out before they die, which is really fucking heavy. There are also a lot of really personal and serious themes on this album, from dealing with trauma and abuse to feelings surrounding grief and death, and it's just like a very personal piece of work that is very clearly resonating with a lot of people. I listened to the album, and I really like parts of it, especially in comparison to the way that I felt about Halsey's work in the past. I feel like this album was very consistent. I totally get the 1970s vibe that they were going for in a lot of these songs. I think The Arsonist in particular is a really cool track. I like it. I don't love every song. I don't think it's my favorite thing I've heard this year, but like, to me, it's pretty decent, and that is my opinion. But you listening at home definitely know that it's not a Kayla Says pop music discourse video until we discuss the infinite black hole that is music criticism and professional reviews. Enter Pitchfork. So Pitchfork is a music review website that has been making people angry for longer than some of you have been alive. And the thing about Pitchfork is that people will say that they don't give a fuck about it, they don't give a fuck about the opinions of anybody who works at Pitchfork until Pitchfork drops a review of an album that people generally like. So if you haven't already guessed where this is going, Pitchfork gave Halsey a less than favorable review on this album. This reviewer gave the album a score of 4.8 and went on to say that while Halsey can be a successful, great singles artist, they, in this reviewer's opinion, have yet to conjure up a really consistent capital G great album. Which is an opinion that Halsey's fans would have gotten mad about regardless. However, this reviewer did, I think, take some shots that were like a little unnecessary because they weren't about the album itself. Like this passage here where they call Halsey's song Without Me, which is not on this album, a character assassination of her former partner G-Eazy, who from what I understand has been accused of abuse, so like not a great look. I just think that's like a weird cheap shot and it's not at all about the album you're actually reviewing, so why include it? And then the other line in here that people are frustrated about is actually the last line of the review where the writer says, "Is it enough, as the Great Impersonator so clearly wants us to believe it is, to say you've suffered for your art and your fans and call it a day?" And this brings up an interesting conversation because most of the sentiment that I've seen surrounding this particular point is like, this reviewer is reducing Halsey's painful and complex trauma that this album is about down to suffering for your art and, you know, doing so to quote unquote gain sympathy from fans. In a way, it's like removing them from the actual pain and trauma that they've experienced and placing it in the context of like the Great Impersonator not being a genuine piece of art, but rather a marketing gimmick. But on the other hand, if a person listens to this album and doesn't like it, I don't think that means that they're inherently being dismissive of Halsey's experience and abuse. Nor do I think that if a person listens to this album and doesn't like it, then that means that they don't understand the themes coming across in this album. A person electing to put their pain and trauma into their art does not shield that art from criticism, especially in the very commercial lane that Halsey occupies, where art is routinely critiqued as part of the process of engaging with it. A lot of Halsey fans seem to want blood after this dastardly Pitchfork review, which I understand. Pitchfork is annoying sometimes. However, I think those people should put more energy into connecting with people who do like the album, rather than seeking out communities that don't like it with a vitriolic need to defend it at any cost. It's a losing battle. There is a very positive review that was posted by Variety the day that this album came out, another very well-known music publication, and all I'm hearing about from Halsey fans is the goddamn Pitchfork review. Engage with the art that you like and the people who like it. You are not going to convince this Pitchfork writer to change their mind. The last thing I would like to talk about is a group of people who I have coined the Chart Goblins. And the Chart Goblins are a collective agent of chaos on the internet whose sole purpose is to ruin unsuspecting people's day. So there seems to be a community of people online who are reveling in the fact that despite this album getting a lot of promotion and a lot of discourse ahead of its release, it did not chart very high. Almost as if to say, wow, Halsey did all of this for this, specific rollout, only for it to amount to nothing in the one chart that definitively rules all of music and all of people's perception and reception to music forever. And people with fully functioning frontal lobes and a job understand that that's not how that works, and that clearly Halsey set out to make a very personal record that resonates with a lot of her fans, and it seems like that is the reception that she's getting for this, so in their eyes, I would say, job well done. I don't necessarily like the idea of reveling in a person's chart placement regardless of who it is, because at this point, the pop stars who do consistently well on the charts are the ones with swaths of jobless fan bases who have time to organize massive streaming campaigns and take advantage of algorithms that are already put in place to benefit those artists. This is an incredibly complex feedback loop that not every artist is large enough to operate under for one reason or another, and that's totally fine. In conclusion, consume the music that you enjoy, and other people disagreeing with you in a public forum is not an indictment on your personality. God, I wish everybody would be a little less angry and a little more normal. That's all. Thank you so much for watching, you guys. A couple reminders that you can connect with me at all the social media listed in this beautiful link tree, which is available for you to interact with in the description down below. Also, I would like to call out the fact that I have a Patreon, and I am actually reviewing a lot more RuPaul's Drag Race content, which if you've been here for a while, you know I used to do that on my channel more frequently. I'm doing dedicated reviews on my Patreon for just $2 a month. I recently posted a Global All-Stars review if you want to go check that out. I also want to quickly plug my boyfriend Brian's channel because he has been doing a lot of coverage of the World Series on his YouTube channel where he talks mostly about baseball. So if there's any potential audience crossover, definitely go subscribe to him. He's really good at what he does. So thanks so much, guys, and I'll see you next time.
Where are you? And I'm so sorry. I cannot sleep, I cannot dream tonight. I need somebody in always. The sick, strange darkness keeps creeping in, so haunting every time. Like as I stare, I count it.